Hi everybody, welcome back, hope you're all doing well. Last weekend I met up with a friend of mine, Jacob, a guy I first met this past summer when I was trying the OM System 20mm 1.4 out before buying it. And we just wanted to do a small little photo walk in Partille, Gothenburg. Long story short, we ended up at a cafe as one does, and we just chatted for a while, and he brought up being unmotivated about his photography because nobody sees his work on social media. And this is not a new problem in today's era of photography, but it surprised me it came from him because Jacob is not a beginner. He's been photographing for years and has even had 3 exhibitions. He's a proper talented photographer. He's been photographing since the 90s, and I honestly thought that we all grow out of caring what other people think as long as we create for ourselves. So hearing him say that really made me stop for a second. And that's when it hit me. This isn't just a beginner problem. It's not just people chasing likes or engagement. It's something that almost affects everyone who shares their work online. Because when someone like Jacob, who clearly knows what he's doing, starts to feel like his work doesn't matter simply because it doesn't perform well on social media, that says a lot about how deeply these platforms shape our sense of worth as photographers. We start tying value to visibility, and when the visibility disappears, we start questioning the value. He asked me how I handle the whole social media thing, and honestly, I was exactly the same when I got back into photography almost 2 years ago. I'd check every post, every like, wondering if my work was good enough. But at some point, and I really think YouTube has helped with this, I just stopped caring about the engagement. Personally, I don't want to be that sort of photographer. I don't want to be a social media driven photographer in that sense. I want to make images that I enjoy making, and I'll share whatever I feel like sharing. And I also realize that people who do enjoy my work, even if it's just a handful, actually connect with it, just as my audience here on YouTube. And that's enough. Of course, it takes time to get there. For some, less time, but for some others, more time. You kind of need to unlearn the idea that your photography needs to be seen to matter. We talked about this idea that maybe at some point every photographer online faces a choice. Do you want to be a photographer who shares your work for fun because you love the process? Or do you want to be a creator who uses photography as a part of content creation? There's nothing wrong with either, but they're very different paths. If you want to grow as a creator, you need to treat it as a business. Follow trends, post consistently, make reels, play the game, if you will. But if you're photographing for yourself, you don't have to play the game at all. You can slow down, experiment, do things that might never get likes, but mean something to you. The tricky part is, most of us is somewhere in between. We photograph because we love it, but we also post because we want to share, to connect. And that's completely human. The problem starts when the sharing part begins to control the creating part. When you start thinking, will this perform well? Instead of, do I like this photo? When you stop experimenting because it might not fit your feed. When you start curating your art for an algorithm instead of yourself. That's when you slowly start drifting from being a photographer who creates to a creator who photographs. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Being a creator who photographs is a different type of craft. And honestly, it's a hard one. Because as a creator, your job isn't just to take good photos, it's to communicate. You have to grab attention, hold it, tell a story, and do it all in 15 seconds before someone scrolls past. Creators think in rhythm and pacing, not just compositions. They think about how an image fits their feed, how it connects with a caption, with a soundtrack, with a hook. It's not lesser than photography, It's just different. A creator's goal is to connect immediately. A photographer's goal is often to express patiently. The challenge though is that when everything you make becomes content, it starts living on borrowed time. You post it, you get a few hours of attention, maybe a day, and then it disappears into the scroll. And that can be exhausting. Neither of these directions are wrong, but they lead to very different places. And if you don't make the choice yourself, the algorithm will happily make it for you. And after that talk, I kept thinking about why we even share the photos to begin with. Because before social media, photography wasn't necessarily just about feedback. It was about curiosity. You took a photo because something made you stop, because it felt right. And I think that's something worth protecting. I still share my photos online, but I try to remind myself that the photographs themselves has to come first. The moment, the reason I pressed the shutter. Because at the end of the day, that's what stays with me. Not the numbers, not the analytics, just a small moment where I saw something ordinary and decided it was worth keeping. Talking to Jacob made me realize that this is a bigger problem than most people realize. And it's not always a clear choice either. It doesn't matter if you just picked up a camera or if you have been photographing for 50 years. Any one of us can fall somewhere in between, unsure of what we actually want from it all. But there's another view on it as well. Another friend of mine, Greg, or you may know him as Distant Media, said something that really stuck with me. If I died tomorrow and nobody ever saw my images, that would kinda suck. But if I died and I had 300 photos on Instagram for my loved ones to scroll through when they were sad, that's actually kind of beautiful. And I really felt that. Posting your work doesn't always have to be about validation or numbers. Sometimes it's just about letting your photos exist somewhere, so others can find them when they need to. So if you're watching this and you're in the same spot, have you thought about what actually matters to you in your photography? Let me know down in the comments. I would genuinely love to hear your thoughts. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, give it a like and consider subscribing. I appreciate it so much, you have no idea. But until next time, have a good day or evening whenever you're watching this. Out.